My husband actually said that to me on Tuesday because he could tell I was like feeling overwhelmed with a whole bunch of stuff. And he was like, one small victory at a time. Like, take that. And that's my mentality I had for that day. And I like had a ton of small victories at the end of the day when I thought about it like that.
Welcome back to Design, Build, Sell. We're your hosts, RB Gallup,
Sarah Bennett,
and Alisha Dobby.
We have had a list of internal topics for us all to kind of discuss and dive into for a while when we first created this podcast. It's ironic that the one we're going to talk about today is productivity and time management, because Alisha and I were talking. Sarah, I think, had I don't know if your week's been as bad as ours has been.
It's been rough.
But it just feels like I've just been a jumbled mess this week. Extremely stressful because I feel out of control. And it's not the way I want to be productive and have good time management skills.
Yeah.
I feel like short work weeks in general always make me feel that way. I feel so rushed and so
We're
just
thrown off.
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with my week as well.
But yeah, it's quite fitting that we've all had these weeks because our topic of today is productivity and time management.
How do you get stuff done? How do you accomplish big things? How do you accomplish small things? How do you lead an effective life in business and in just in general? And I think it's a topic that's always interested me. It's a bit of like a kind of like a weird hobby obsession about trying to maximize potential and productivity and efficiency. And I think it's because I'm not good at it. I'm not naturally organized. I'm not a type A focused person. I have to really rein myself in. And so a little bit of it is like, well, maybe this tool will help me be better. And maybe if I listen to this book while I'm running, I'll learn something. And so I really try to, it's a constant thing I'm trying to sharpen the saw on.
Yeah. I think I do a handful of things that I implement to keep me on track. And a lot of it's just like easy stuff. I'm a very much like simple gal. I'm a get a pen and I'm going to make a list type of person. I'm not going to like use an app or like get on the computer, and I don't work well that way. I got to like see it, write it down, and physically cross it off the list.
Checklist crosser.
That's me.
Checklist checker, I guess.
Yeah. I'm that word always gets me. Productivity routine girl, but not like routine with my kids. Like I never was like, oh, it's the baby's nap time, better put them down. Like I kind of fly by the seat of my pants for stuff like that. But
which is hilarious to me.
Yeah?
I would have thought, weird. I would have thought that would have been a kind of cued in system. My wife and I, we do and I say my wife and I, she prints it out and I follow it.
Yeah.
The Mom's on Call schedule.
Yeah.
And we've created a little robot.
We were the same way with our kids, and I'm more like you, where I'm not more, Josh is definitely the more type A of the two of us. So same thing. It's not as natural for me to, have keep up with the schedule. I have to kind of work at it a little bit more. But when it came to the kids, and this is again, probably driven by Josh, we were baby wise. And so we were so routine with the girls. So yeah, they were, again, little robots.
We can't take Brew anywhere during the nap time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's our own fear, but we'll think like he's going to explode or something.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple times where like you get him off the routine. He is not napping until the next one.
Yeah.
And it's bad.
Yeah.
there's pros and cons to it for sure.
I think so. Yeah.
To talk about like tools we use, and Alisha was kind of getting into that. Sarah, what are the ways you plan your week, your day?
Well, I have stuff that I know that I'm going to do every day. So I feel like those things I just mentally always know, this is my time for those things that are daily. And then of course, my work schedule, I keep just a regular calendar on my phone and my computer. I would prefer to write things down, but Josh has pushed me more into, using my computer and my phone for that. But other than that, I do like a good checklist to keep me on task. But for my day-to-day life, it's just, again, just that normal routine that I know by heart every day, and then my calendar, and just making sure that I'm keeping up with all those things.
Alisha?
Well, pen and paper, like I said. And I start my like spin off of being productive on Sundays. Every Sunday I do the same thing, morning to afternoon. And then like midday, it's like whatever happens. But we wake up, and my husband's like a big breakfast guy. So he cooks the family breakfast every weekend, usually some bacon and waffles and pancakes and stuff. We always go on a Sunday walk, obviously if it's not raining, every Sunday morning. And then I go to the grocery store, and I like stock my house up. I meal plan for the week. If I like, we pretty much only eat out on like a Friday or a Saturday. We would never eat out during the week. I am very much like, it's a school night type of mom. And so once I get all that done on Sunday, I feel like I can like relax a little bit, but like I need to get those things done. And then my Monday morning is where I really make my list for a Monday through Friday. Like, these are things that need to happen. And I kind of prioritize them by like client project or like timeline necessity. But Sunday and Mondays are like sit down, plan, and then just ride on through. I feel like you're like, because for work, I feel like you're organized at work, at least.
Right.
Like you're like a big Excel, like calendar link kind of guy.
So, and a lot of people don't see this, but I have a little notebook, and I found 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey. He's written a bunch of books. My dad was a big proponent of his. I think I talked about that some. And basically, he kind of explained the principle, and Alicia's probably heard me say this in a meeting, of rocks or goals, like prioritization. And the idea is, if you had a vase and you had to fill it with rocks, pebbles, and sand and water, a lot of things, how would you get them all in there? Well, if you started with the sand and the water, you would never get in the big rocks. So the big rocks are the items that will move the needle, the items that will advance whatever you're trying to do. So prioritizing those and then filling the other task around it has been a principle that I'm like obsessed with. And I've drifted way off track this last week, and that's driving me nuts. Been a lot of distractions. But basically every Monday or Sunday, if I can find time, I will create a list of priorities. It starts with a brain dump. So I go through and write down all the little things that are floating around in my brain. One person referred to this as clearing the RAM. A computer has RAM, random access memory, so you're clearing that. Put that on a brain dump. From there, I go and I pull out the priorities, and I'll try to write, ideally it should be like 10, but it'll start at like 12, and by the end of Monday it'll be 20. And that's the problem. Like then you start to kind of hurt yourself. So you write that list of priorities, you establish the order of those, and then each day, whether it's the end of the day, which is a really good way to do it, or first thing in the morning, you take your top 3 items from that list and you say, these are the items that are going to get done, and you plan your day around that. So that's been something that on a good week, it'll be 75% of those priorities get done. On a bad week, it might be 50%, but we're moving, you're getting those big ticket items done first.
Well, you have both made me sound terrible with my answer. So let me just go back real quick to just address one thing about my routine, is that I don't really get the luxury of a routine. Like I said, I do have some things every week that I always do, but my schedule, my routine is based on other people's schedule and routine. So I don't really get to necessarily lay out my week the way other people do. There are some things, of course, big things like closings and meetings that I know they're going to happen, but so much of my week is changes and is fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You have you have to be kind of like ADD in your job.
Yeah. You just have to be able to go with the flow and be a little bit more flexible. I mean, whether it's something that comes up with work or my client schedule or my personal life that comes up, and then if it can just throw everything,
Well, your projects are compounded. You have a very large amount of tasks that happen in 30 to 60 days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
We're on projects that can take upwards to a year.
Right. Right.
And then on my side, it's really working on the business aspect, which if we can talk about the prioritization, the way you establish those priorities and like what those are is there's a thought of having 4 quadrants of activities. So Q1 is urgent, important. That's the world that you probably live in with your transactions. You're in that urgent, important world. Q2 is not urgent, important. Those are items like doing your marketing videos, working on your Monday.com, writing down your system for your team members. Q3 is urgent, not important. Those are things that should either be delegated or dropped. And then Q4 is not urgent, not important. That might be scrolling through Instagram or doing something that's a time waster, if you will. Where advancement takes place is making times for those Q2 items. And how do you do that? And that's tricky in a world where you live in the Q1. You got to be there. And so I don't even know if it's as possible for you. You got to be as available, but I'm trying to time block to really get to those items and say, this is the day for this task. And this is the time slot for these tasks, and have discipline to stick with it. But it's hard. I've had a sales process idea that I'm going to have a written sales process and capture it. And it took me, it's been 2 months of just kind of delaying it. And I finally wrote something yesterday. 2 months of delaying that. And it's hard to do those Q2 items sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like my brain just thrives in like constant movement. I don't know if that's being a woman or what I do for a living or just who I am. But I'm always like doing a lot of things at once all the time. Like just with Gallup, I have, I don't know, 9 or 10 houses that I'm juggling right now with like client questions, project manager questions, just a lot of fluid details, which I work well in that state of mind. But I get most productive when I do get into daily habits of reminding myself that I need to have like a break to reset. So I think it's important for people to do that and not do it at 6 p.m. at night sometimes. I've kind of just like naturally gotten a rhythm having my youngest from like 1 o'clock to like 2:30 every day. I'm typically home because that's when my children are getting home from school, and then I can jump back into work around like 2:33 when they get home if I need to. But during that time, I've really found that I'll put my phone down unless it's like an urgent thing. My youngest will nap, and I have just a quiet house until my older 2 get home, and that's really where I just like try to shut off and reset, and then I'm just like pick back up at 3 and I'll like dive back into work and then crush it until dinner time.
It reminds me, and I'm off of it now, I can't stay consistent with this one, but trying to take that little nap around. I did like,
you two are nappers.
I can't nap.
Yeah.
But I did 2 months of trying to take a 20 to 40 minute nap every day. And it was around that time after
my
lunch.
trick is eat a really big sandwich. And then I can just pass right out for like a good 30, 40 minutes. And then I wake up and same thing. I really don't get to nap much anymore.
Right.
So.
And I'm learning, I'm the newcomer to having children.
Yeah.
And I'm just the assistant in that department. And I don't treat my wife like that's her job, and she's got a job too.
Yeah.
But she is just a natural mother and really does take a lot of the burden. And this week I'm on my own, and she's off in New York, and that doesn't really mean a whole lot because we have help during the day, but I can't go run at 6.
Right.
And so it's just thrown me off my schedule. And it's when you're on someone else's schedule and working around it, it's tricky.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So power to you moms.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We get minimal time to ourselves, but
Yeah.
I know.
like I've said before, I remind myself these are the good years. And
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not productive this week. But I went to Lazy Creek last night with Brew and our help, our nanny. She's been a great friend, and really we just lucked into these awesome people, her and her husband. And honestly, it's this funny. Like whenever I'm having a challenging time sleeping at night, which can come often because you're thinking of all the things you got to do. The nicest comfort is just to think about your kid and how awesome they are, and
oh yeah,
and your family, and then it's just
it just reels it in. You're like,
oh yeah, you're
that's
like
the important stuff.
yeah,
right
you know
there.
that guy who was a jerk today, he can keep being a jerk. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I love what Alisha, because I know her Sunday ritual. It's, it is. It's every Sunday. But I resonate with that some as well, because even though, again, I don't necessarily always get to do everything on a Sunday or on a Monday, I do know that once I do that task of whether it's, and this is going to sound very menial, but whether it's going to the grocery store or, clean up the kitchen, once I do something like that, and then I just feel like, okay, now I can take a step and then focus on that next big task, and having some sort of that routine, at least somewhere in the week, always really helps me.
A Sunday well spent breeds a week of content.
You are
Someone
just
once
a
said.
wealth of
I can't jump into a Monday without having my house done, my my
Car clean. Oh, by the way, I make priority lists for the weekend.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all,
This is really a podcast that Josh Bennett should be on, because the whole checklist thing is really his forte. I'm really doing y'all a disservice by being
not a
here.
checklist.
Not checklist.
Checklist can mean just a random list of
Time
tasks.
management.
Priority.
Time
But
management, productivity.
Cleaning my car is my big one. I used to work in the field a lot more, and that's my office. I gotta have it clean. If you text us and ask us to do something on Sunday evening, we're like, what?
Yeah, no.
No, ain't happening.
They know better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have some friends that make fun of us for that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I already know I'm an old lady.
I don't do any. I think our cutoff on a Sunday is really like is really probably be home by 3:30.
Oh my God, I was literally about to be like between 3 and 4.
Learning a lot here.
That's hilarious.
Sarah's like, y'all are chaotic. Y'all roll with the flow. I commend other people for their abilities to do things that I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I think being like organized by nature, maybe your husband Josh is a little like more go with the flow because he's so dialed in on everything all the time, whereas like I have to make time to be dialed in. So there's me making the time and doing it. And I just, even the little things, like I have to move my body for 30 minutes a day. That's a priority to me. I need to have a tidy main living area, like kitchen, living room, especially with like, that's always going to be tidy or my brain gets fogged. I get cluttered in my head. I need to like,
oh my gosh,
do that. And then I can be productive. My husband laughs at me. I'll just get on a rampage on a Saturday morning. I'll wake up at 6:30 and just start cleaning and vacuuming. He's like, oh, here we go. It's going to be one of those Saturdays. We're going to have some chores to do.
Oh, routine is important. And like I have to mountain bike or run every other day at least. And ideally it would be doing something every day. And when I don't do that, gosh, you better stay away. I'm going to be grumpy and foggy headed and get out my way.
I'm sure that's probably all of our biggest struggle with prioritizing stuff is time.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm always just like, there's just not enough time.
I like to go to sleep too. I want to go to bed ideally I'd be asleep at 9, but 10 for sure. Asleep.
10
lights.
o'clock I have
that means in the bed.
Yeah.
Done. Lights out.
Yeah.
And that doesn't leave any time. Brew goes to bed at 7. So then we eat dinner, and then it's like, it's just, we need a 4-day work week would be great. I'm all for that.
I feel this podcast is making us all sound really old and tired.
I am tired.
I'm exhausted.
I have been tired since I was 14 years old.
Well,
I feel that.
so we were talking about that before we jumped on recording. It's like with the holiday weekend we just had of Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Thanks a lot, Labor Day.
Thanks a lot, Labor Day. I didn't do my
Thanks for
Sunday
nothing.
routine.
Yeah.
And then Monday is my most like productive day, just like mentally as well. And like that was also not what it was this week. And it's just like by the time Tuesday got around, I was like, where'd my week go?
Yeah.
You know who I feel bad for? It's my wife.
Yeah.
It's her birthday. It was her birthday on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Monday night, having birthday dinner at her parents' house. Tuesday night, it's her actual birthday. We did something nice, but just ate dinner with the family. And then she had to wake up at like 4:00 in the morning to go to New York. So she flew to New York then. So she's going to be tuckered out when she comes back home.
Yeah. You know what I just realized?
But
So you say Alex's birthday was Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Bennett's birthday was Monday. My husband's birthday was yesterday. So all of our spouses were born in the same week.
it's so weird.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
That is weird.
Ugh.
Those Virgos.
Yeah.
Well, that just took a left turn, didn't it?
Right?
Who knows if people are going to like this one or not?
They're going to be like, what the hell are they talking about? Sarah Bennett. Thank you, Sarah, for telling us that you have a calendar.
No, I mean, but that.
Would have preferred not to have
RV's
started that one.
RV has
Because
talked
your
about some good-
question and my answer versus your question and your answer,
I'm
I feel
such
like
a
you
dork.
changed your question to give you a much broader answer. I was like, wait, I thought you were just asking like how we plan our week. What's happening here? What are we talking about? Q's and P's?
I'm
What?
such a dork. I just like this. This is why I wanted to talk about it, because I like this. I like this topic. I have a very heightened sense of awareness when it comes to time, and it has always made me somewhat impatient. It has made me want to get, really make the most of what I have.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like time is so fleeting, and I have to really I've talked to my wife recently, and I said I'm going to have to slow down and really I can't put this pressure on myself. I'm going to have to figure out how to change the frequency of it a little bit, because I want to get so much in such a short amount of time, because I feel like people do just wake up and their whole life's gone,
Ryan Serhant has a really good video about time management and productivity. And I mean, he starts talking immediately about how time is our most important asset, if you will, because it's the one thing that you cannot create more of. It is what it is.
Or get it back.
Yep, or get it back. And so you have to be very efficient with your time, very productive with it. So I do think that whole time productivity and, making those priorities, it's incredibly important.
Yeah, he talked about eating the frog recently, and that's the priority. He said the hard thing, and you could say the hard thing or the most important thing first.
Yep.
And it's a hard thing to have discipline to do.
That is something that I try to do. If I know that I have a really difficult, whether it's a very difficult phone call I'm going to have to make, or, just a very difficult, hard task that I know that I'm facing that day or that week, I just want to go ahead and get it done. I'm a very much rip the Band-Aid, just deal with it, get it over with kind of gal. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. Just gotta get it done, because
I can't focus on anything else.
I'll just keep thinking about it.
People are just going to be afraid to pick up the phone when we call now, because they're all about proactive communication, telling people when there's an issue. It's like, and I do feel like sometimes people are like, what? what do you have to say? I was like, I just want to say hello. How the house is looking great.
Agents and my clients know when I call in the middle of a transaction, I always start with, hey, it's me. Everything's fine. I always start there, because I know that people will be waiting and they're like, thank God you said that. But then when I don't start with that, they're like, oh, dang it. What's she about to tell me?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think the tools that you use personally make you a good leader for the business, because we do rocks as employees, and he makes us set goals. And it's I like to do that for myself too, but not everyone thinks that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And it really keeps us all on task. And I think it's a good trait to push out to people that you want to be around all the time,
Well, thanks. And we're going to take that a step further. I think in the future, I'm working on some stuff, which I'm sure Alicia's like, oh,
Can't
great.
wait to hear.
Everybody, he went to a conference. Uh-oh, guys.
We got to learn something new.
Everybody walks in one day, everyone has their own vase at the table, and you're just like, oh, here we
He's
go.
like, fill your rocks up. Here's your sand.
Getting back to that daily routine, do we have one, and what does it involve? And do we think it's necessary to be an effective person? Obviously, I think we can all agree that yes, but you kind of started us off with a good weekly routine. And you mentioned that every day you need a good 30 minutes of being active. So tell us more about that daily routine as opposed to how you get started for your weekly routine.
This friend of mine, she created this thing called 5 Daily Habits. And really, you should be journaling every day, first and foremost, whether it's just writing down your most important task, even if it's just one thing, if that's all you need to write down, and just giving yourself some gratitude and some positivity, and then naturally you'll reflect that onto somebody else around you. So I try to implement. I'm not as diligent as I used to be. I used to journal every morning, and just my current lifestyle doesn't always account for that. But I try to always do those 3 to 5 daily habits a day. And like I said, it's 30 minutes of movement, completing my most important task of the day, tidying my space. It's just part of being disciplined, being productive. Doesn't always come natural to people, and that's just a routine to get into. So
being grateful as with that journaling, and it's very important. As soon as you get stressed out, overwhelmed, even potentially depressed or whatever, I think as soon as you think about what I have and what has been good and all the positive things that you have achieved or been blessed with, that'll change your mind. You'll quit with your pity party pretty quick.
Oh yeah, instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to do that a few times a week. When I feel overwhelmed, I'm take a step back here.
Yeah.
What's really important right now?
It's important to celebrate the wins. I don't think you're going so fast, you're worried about getting the checklist too, or getting the priorities done, that celebrating the wins is very important.
Yeah, my husband actually said that to me on Tuesday, because he could tell I was feeling overwhelmed with a whole bunch of stuff, and he was like, one small victory at a time. Take that, and that's my mentality I had for that day. And I had a ton of small victories at the end of the day when I thought about it like that.
And how do you get things done in your business? If we talk about how do you achieve goals, set goals, accomplish them, how Sarah.
Don't start with me. Start with Alicia this time.
No, Sarah, she's being modest
You've accomplished
at the moment.
so much. I mean, you have your team and everything. Don't downplay it.
She's a great.
You're sitting here for a reason, girl.
Yeah, I feel like you set your self goals with.
I do. I have I set my yearly goals, then I kind of break those down into how that's going to look for each quarter, each month. Essentially it should break down to each week and each day. And at the end of each year, I kind of, like I said, I set up what I want my goals to be for both my team and myself personally. And then to do that, then I have to break it down. Okay, what does that mean for each quarter? What does it mean for each month? So I do start each month looking at where I am on track for what I had set myself for the year. And I might have to adjust if needed.
No, it's important. And I think people take for granted the really simple things. If you write something down, you're way more highly to achieve it.
Yeah.
And me and my husband do that. We sit down every January and we write down a personal goal, a financial goal, and a career goal. And we've done that the past 2 years, been really specific. And I'll tell you what, we've knocked them all out.
Yeah. Being intentional about it is a big part of it. Absolutely. I think that just for myself personally, for the whole starting every day thing, I don't start my day technically until my kids are at school, because you'll see, you get up, you got to deal with all that. So I don't consider the start of my day until my kids are gone. And then I have usually about 45 minutes to myself where I am, I kind of have my own little devotional. I am checking my emails. I am looking at what my day is supposed to look like. Again, it can be very fluid. But if I don't have that 30 to 45 minutes every morning, if I have a very rushed morning or something, it definitely, I can always tell by this time of day, like, oh man, like I've got to get some sort of reset somehow in my day.
It's funny. You were just talking about like the personal goals, and I've been so business and entrepreneurial focused. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but focused on growing a business. I always have been. Like everyone looks at it, and I think people who don't know me think that I just like worked under my dad, and like no, I came in, I was like pushing things very early on, and my mom's always said that like I've wanted to go to work since I was 5 years old. So it's just,
You've always been an old man.
I have. But in personal life, people will ask me like, what are my goals and stuff? And I have like accomplishments I'll do, but I need to really focus myself more and my family more on family planning. And that's coming, you know, so that's something we really want to do. Business goals, we do, like Alisha was talking about rocks. We live in a quarterly world where it's 90 days. So it's really a 90-day world. And the idea is people's attention span, their attention span will not be held for a year. And so if you have a yearly planning retreat and then you have your yearly goals and whatnot, they're going to soon forget those. And you will accomplish things, but it requires a lot of self-discipline and self-motivation. So when you do the quarterly 90-day focus, you're breaking it down, like you said, breaking those goals down into quarters and then into months, then holding everyone accountable to them. And then at the end of the year, you've accomplished 4 sets of rocks. And that may have been 5 items per person. And so that's, if we have 10 employees, for instance, that would be 50 items times 4. And so you see where this is going, and then you really accomplish something. And then the business we'll have like a core group, like company rocks. Those are really important things. And they may be 5 to 7 items. And so if we do those 90 days, we've accomplished 20 to 25 items, whatever it is. And this last year has been really, not just this last year, but the last few years, but this last year has been such a push to get it systemized and organized. So I kind of keep telling myself that this is not going to last forever. We're going to get it to another point. But I want to make personal plans where I actually do that, you know, where I don't just continuously drive me and everyone around me insane. You know, like we're getting this thing up and running and getting over to that break-even point. And I think we have been able to do that with the planning.
How do we each manage distractions to stay on track? I mean, how many distractions do you get a day? Like,
yeah,
a lot.
That's what we should. Yeah.
If I have my office door open, they're probably going to poke their head in and whatnot. And so, but I want to be approachable and be able to talk to them and everything too. So it's finding a way to block that time. I'm not a robot. I want to, like, if I sense that I need to go talk to that person, I'm going to go talk to them and see, like, are you all right? Is everything good? You know, what's going on? And I don't ever want to come across like that for a client either. You know, like I'm in the office, but if something needs to be addressed and looked at, I definitely call me anytime, you know?
It may be a personality thing. I have no problem when distractions come up, especially a lot of agents and clients who I love and adore, but a lot of them want to talk a lot. And that is totally fine. And sometimes I have time to talk, but a lot of times I don't. And I love my clients and I respect each and every one of them, but I have no problem telling people I have to go. Right. I have no problem cutting it off, to the point that Josh and Alisha make fun of me. But I do. Josh will hear me on the phone, and it is not at all that I don't value and want to talk to people more. I just can't. And so I have for several years made that a thing for myself, that I just say, I'm so sorry, I have to go. Like
she literally leaves.
And I will. And I'll be like, I have to go. And then I leave. And it does not mean that I do not want to talk to that person or continue on with this amazing conversation. I just know, like, I do, prioritize my time, and I have to go. And so I think you just have to tell them, I'm so sorry, but we have to end this conversation, but not maybe like that, but just say, I'm so sorry, I got to go.
I think, an important mindset to have too is like, you don't always have to say yes. For a long time, I would always find myself like saying yes to every project or every client, because I'm like, oh, I would love that. I would love it. But there's like, you got to learn when to say yes. And I feel like
when to say no.
Yes.
Exactly. Like when to say yes, when to say no. So I feel like I've kind of started to learn that more over the past few years, because
I'm good at that. I like to say no. I'll tell anyone no. Nope, not on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's personal and family knows, but
Yeah.
but like you have to, you got to be fair to yourself and your family, and your company and all of that stuff.
I feel like everyone can relate to the trying to be productive. How do you stay on track? How do you balance work and family? What does that look like for you? Like, how do you, I hear it all the time. People always say to me, and it's a great compliment, but it's not true. They're like, how do you do it all? I'm like, I'm not doing it all. But they're like, you're a working mom. You're very successful at it. You have 3 kids. Like, you're taking time for yourself. And I'm like, I have to really, really work for all of these things all the time. It's not just like
Slow yourself down and you're mindful of it. I think mindfulness is obviously it's a catchy thing to say, but to talk about like distractions, I'll get a phone call, a text message, a lot of end run distractions where we have a team, we have project managers, interior designer, architects, estimator, purchaser. So recently I've had, this has been the hardest struggle. Some people don't like change, and I have a estimator purchaser. They want to call me when they want to talk about numbers. They think, oh, he's the number guy. Yes. And it would be easier for me to pick up the phone and talk to him about it. Talk to a subcontractor about concrete, for instance. It'd be easy for me to say, oh yeah, hey, look, but if I keep doing that, it takes the power away from this individual I've put into the system to do that. And so you have to be mindful about, okay, is this the right use of my time, or not? And how you can say that about everything in life, like friends.
Yeah.
You hate to say that, but are they the right friends for you? I'm not talking to y'all.
That's what I'm saying. What are you
I've
trying to
weaseled
say?
my way into y'all's friendship. I hope so.
you are.
No, the silence was deafening there.
I gave a little giggle.
I try to keep that in mind too. Like what you're saying, like a lot of time clients do want to talk to you because they feel like you're like the end all be all, and they're like, RB makes the final decision. And like most of the time you're absolutely right. But I try not to call you for every question if I could delegate it to the other person that it properly should go to, because you are easy to talk to. I'm like, hey, real quick. Like I feel like I could call you and say that and you would talk about it, but I need to.
It's challenging. I really, because sometimes I feel bad when I have to like step back, and I don't want to come across cold and not caring. Like, I love building houses. Like if I could go out and just build a handful of houses myself, I could do that. But that's not the direction this company has gone in, and I've got to be all in what we've done, so I don't want to just detract from what we're building. So yeah, I'm glad you get that, because that is a hard thing. It's like it's not like I'm not too busy. I don't want a client to ever feel I'm too busy.
Right.
When decentralized command is a thing that the military talks about. Who is the best person to make decisions in the battlefield? It's usually the guy closest to the fight. And that's about the most I know about military lingo. But the reason I say that is I've actually screwed up a couple things recently, and nothing bad. Nothing happened, but I said the wrong thing and kind of got everything jumbled because I jumped in the middle of a situation like here's A, here's B, and I'm like right there talking about A. And so I jumped into this situation that I didn't have all the knowledge on, and it just goes to show me, it's like we have a system. You have to empower your people, trust them to make good decisions, and they will bring you the items that need your attention at the appropriate time.
How do we all rank on the scale of proactive to procrastinator? Let's start with RB. Where do you fall?
I would say by habit and mindful consistency, I am proactive now. But I was procrastinator. I was a terrible student in school up until college, which obviously I didn't finish. But I enjoyed college, and I would still even procrastinate then. But it's amazing, people's productivity curve generally goes like this. Woo. So here's where you are, and for those of you listening, it's an upward curve from when you start to the deadline. So people procrastinate, and finishing homes is unfortunately a really good example of this. Trying to get project managers and everyone to get ahead of it is so necessary. And it's about creating some self-imposed deadlines and schedules and really sticking to those. So you want your productivity curve to start high and finish low at the target. It's much easier that way too.
Yeah. I'd say generally I'm a proactive person, but the deadlines are what keeps me in track. Like if I know I don't have something due for a client for 6 weeks, like I'm probably not going to do it on week 1. But you know what I mean? Like RB's like, wait, what?
No, I know. Well, we're having a discussion about our about working the interior design process, and we're working the process and just molding it into the way we want it to be. And I think that's we want everyone's attention to follow that downward curve, because a client, you want to hold their focus during that. And I think their focus can kind of go off the rails sometimes if you don't attack it.
I 100%
You got to keep them busy.
Absolutely. You got to do a big chunk of stuff at the beginning because they're excited and they're not like, in the middle of a build where it's like, oh my gosh, drywall's up, but I want to move in. But also I've told you before, like design is organic and there are certain things like you can't just do everything all at once. So it's just finding that like good balance of like, when's the appropriate time? And like we have lead times and we have, there's a process to it. And I think myself, I've created a process. You have a process. Our project managers have a process, and we're all trying to like form them into a whole system. So yeah, I think we're working through it and we're like, we're right there.
But we've done it this way before. And we all know that that's not a good excuse for why we keep doing something, that's the way we've done it before.
Right.
Well, people aren't coming to us because we're like everyone else doing it before. So cabinets, like cabinet drawings, we're working hard now to integrate cabinet drawings into our business during the design stage. And with that, Alisha and I are talking about how to bring in exterior selections and appliances, and starting with those to say, okay, what will that do? It'll help eliminate potential disconnects on allowances. So we've got that already squared away. That's a chunk done. Cabinet plans, we're starting rough ends and we don't have the cabinet plans because we're relying on the cabinet designer to make those plans. So we're going to design that ourselves and perfect it in the plan design process. So when we go to lay out the rough ends, they're already done. There's no chance of it creeping up on us. Yeah.
And that's going to streamline like the process of a project so much.
Oh yeah. And exterior selections will help with potential allowance disconnect. And also we got to order the windows. Well, we already got that information. We don't have to panic. And there's an ARB guideline. Well, we can submit that as soon as we go to contract.
You're the one that asked the question.
What was the question?
How would you rank yourself on a scale of being proactive to procrastinator?
I think I'm very much like RB in that it may not be as natural to me, or I didn't used to be as proactive as I am now. I think that being married to Josh Bennett has made me a very proactive person. But I think that one thing we can all agree on is that owning your own business, you have to be proactive. I don't think you can be successful and be a procrastinator.
Because who else is going to do it, right?
Exactly. So I do think that I am proactive. I would say if there's one thing that I do procrastinate, and it's kind of more of the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that, not, by no means anything that like affects the, transactions, or we talked about the hard stuff, any of that. But there are some things that I procrastinate on when it comes to like, stuff on Monday.com and, that kind of stuff I sometimes procrastinate on. But it's not because it's probably just because it's stuff that I don't like to do as much. But,
Yeah.
I definitely still understand that it's important, and I do. And that's probably one thing that I do plan on once a week. Can't always predict what day it's going to be, but I do have to do that kind of stuff once a week to make sure that I keep up with it.
I can't stand procrastinators. Honestly, now that I'm not, I hate it so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're making your life so hard.
Yeah.
I want to just like shake you sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but like, I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself?
I know.
Yeah.
Snap out of it.
Yeah.
Segmenting out time and whatnot. Mm-hmm. How do you handle your text messages, your emails? Is there any tips?
You don't want to ask me about text messages. Josh Bennett will tell you. I mean, I can't keep up with how many text messages I get. And that's why I just respond as quickly as I can. Email is very difficult for me. I try to follow, Brian Serhant again talks about always, weekly having a, zero inbox zero, whatever it is, where you have nothing in your inbox. Everything's been read, responded to, and filed away. That is really, really hard for me. I used to try to do it once a week. I probably do it once a month now. But I do, whenever I do get that inbox totally cleared out, it is like a high for me. I'm like, yes, I did it.
Mine's only cleared out when I just say, screw it, archive all. Because it's like, don't email, like builder trend. And I'm like, if you want to answer, builder trend me.
Yeah. I guess I don't get that many emails because I take care
she's
of it
on
every
that
day.
Builder trend, yo.
Text messages, I'll stop replying to clients by 8 p.m. because I'm going to bed.
I think that's late. And
this isn't
I don't
like,
even text clients back. I will copy and paste it and put it into builder trend the next business day if it's at night.
Yeah. I agree with that. But every morning I do email checklist. I check MLS for stuff. Obviously, catch up on Builder Trend. Builder Trend's fluid all day long. I answer to those things right away because I've noticed that there could be a lot of them coming in. I could get anywhere from 20 to 50 messages on Builder Trend a day sometimes, and if I don't respond to them right away, I might forget about it, or I might not see it till the next day. And sometimes things can't wait till the next day. So I try to be really diligent about that. And email, twice a day, I'll go check into it because everything else is either text message or builder trend message.
This is going to stress Sarah out, but I turned my notifications off on my email a long time ago. And I that's when we were heavy email based, and I'll check them, but often it's not going to be anything. It could be a sales or something like so. It's not like it's super distracting, but I'll check the email, like you said, twice a day. But I'm mindful when I want to do it, and then I'm recently transitioned to do that to builder trend messages as well. So I've alerted myself for certain items that I definitely don't want to miss that are time sensitive. But I'm checking builder trend messages quite often. But I'm not getting the notifications. I've been at dinner before with my wife or on vacation, and I get a notification pop up, and let's see what that says. And it's ruined my evening or my vacation for that day. I quickly hit the reset button. I just decided, you know what, I'm going to be a little more mindful about this as well, and not let something stupid have a power over me like that.
I try to do it, and I tell my husband all the time, like, his business is kind of like maybe more like you, where like a lot of people are like needing to talk to him about stuff and managing people. And I'm like, you got to put your phone away, because he could just get on a tangent and then work for the next 30 minutes when we're at dinner or something. And I've found myself, I got to do that too. So like we've both been more mindful about phones down, especially when we're with the kids.
I
Because
suck at phones down, and I'm getting a lot of flack from my wife.
yeah,
I gotta tighten that up.
yeah, especially when you're with the kids, because like our kids are old enough now where they'll be like, "You're always on your phone."
I want to be on the phone. Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm working.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like watching YouTube videos.
Exactly.
Like, I'm working. You know, I don't want them to think that of me or him all the time. So it's
Sure.
like, you're right. Thanks for putting me in check, Harper.
Yeah, there was a cartoon I saw. I think my wife sent it to me, and it had a mom with her kid on a bench reading a book, and the kid was reading a book. And it was like, "How do you get your kid to read books all the time?" And
They
she
do
was
what
like
you do.
texting or something, So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, they do what you
that's a new scary element of life, right?
do. And you'll realize like they start saying things that you say or like phrases that you do. And you're like,
Uh-oh.
they're paying
They
more
sure do.
attention than you realized.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of kids, I love the Sarah the realtor.
I'll tell you, that's the best
That's a
one.
classic.
That's one of my favorites. And
And what's funny is like Molly pretty much probably said all that stuff without being prompted.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's hilarious.
Yeah.
So for those who
Yeah.
don't know, Sarah the realtor is a TikTok icon
Superstar.
of our generation. And she had you had one of your daughters kind of impersonating you with like a flip phone and had glasses on and
Yeah.
was like had a cup of coffee, and it
Yeah.
was just hilarious.
yeah. Running comps is my cardio. That was my favorite. That's a good one.
Yeah.
The wine glass, is it 5:00 yet? That's again a natural. Just yeah. and that one, we did that a couple of years ago, and we still every now and then just repost it because it cracks me up.
love
It's
it.
just so funny. All right, well, I've enjoyed being productive with you guys today.
Always and forever.
Have we accomplished all of our priorities?
I think I have.
Okay.
Good stuff today, guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking about how we get things done and prioritizing this podcast. How do we remain consistent here? We created a calendar. We have a link to that calendar using Calendly. We send it out to guests. That's how we schedule them. And we commit and we schedule around it. So it's a little bit of prioritization and time blocking.
Gotta make it happen.
If you are enjoying Design, Build, Sell, please drop us a rating and review in Apple iTunes. It would really mean the world to us and help us advance this little thing we're doing. If you have topics you'd like to see or maybe guests you'd like to suggest, if you want to be on our podcast and you think you're worth it, if you think you got the stuff, give us a
grit.
shout. DM us on Instagram at Design, Build, Sell Podcast. Check us out on our website at designbuildsellpod.com.
And stay tuned for more exciting podcasts coming your way.